Good morning. It's good to be in the house of the Lord. So if you would open up your Bibles to 1 Kings chapter 5, 1 Kings chapter 5, we start on the miraculous thing that God has been opening up and developing for a lifetime. David got in his heart that he was going to build a temple to the Lord. And, well, of course, the Lord wasn't going to use David because David was a man of bloody hands, warfare and such. But he says, I'm going to pick your son Solomon. He'll be the one. Of course, that didn't stop David from gathering together as much stuff as he possibly could to make the temple. He had things made. He did all kind of stuff ahead of time. But you'll see how God opens this door with a friend, Hiram, the king of Tyre. And Hiram, the king of Tyre, sent his servants unto Solomon, for he had heard that they had anointed him king in the room of his father. For Hiram was ever a lover of David. So Hiram, we'll find out later, was a Naphtali. So he was of the tribe of Naphtali, but he was also the son of a man of Tyre who was a bronze worker. And so Hiram had great and intricate knowledge of how to work bronze, how to work wood, how to work things. And the perfect person to get together with Solomon to build the temple to the Lord. And so as soon as Hiram hears that Solomon is king, he sends servants to help him. And Solomon sent to Hiram, saying, Thou knowest how David, my father, could not build a house unto the name of the Lord his God for the wars which were about him on every side, until the Lord put them under the soles of his feet. But now the Lord my God hath given me rest on every side, so that there's neither adversary nor evil occurrent. And behold, I purpose to build an house unto the name of the Lord my God, as the Lord spake unto David my father, saying, Thy son, whom I will set up upon thy throne in thy room, he shall build an house unto my name. And so we see that this is finally playing out. God had told David that I'm going to use your son to build the temple, but not you, sorry, David. And then there develops some call it a war of friendship almost, because they battle for who can do better for each other. It's kind of sweet in a sense, because he says, Now therefore command thou, he's talking to Hiram, that they hew me cedar trees out of Lebanon, and my servants shall be with thy servants, and unto thee will I give thee hire for thy servants, according to all that thou shalt appoint. For thou knowest that there is not among us any that can skill to hew timber like the Sidonians. So he already knew that they had the stock, right? These beautiful cedars of Lebanon that populate the entire mountains. But they had the skill set to be able to hew them and bring them. And it came to pass, now here's Hiram's going to one-up him. Here's that warfare, right? So he says, hey, I need you to bring the wood. I've got to have you bring that and use your skilled men. I'll send men to help labor alongside them, but, we want to bring all that lumber over here so we can build the temple unto the Lord. In verse 7, And it came to pass when Hiram heard the words of Solomon that he rejoiced greatly and said, Blessed be the Lord this day, which has given unto David a wise son over this great people. And Hiram sent to Solomon, saying, I have considered the things which thou sentest to me for, and I will do all that thy desire concerning the timber of cedar and concerning timber of fir. My servants shall bring them down from Lebanon unto the sea, and I will convey them by sea in floats unto a place that thou shalt appoint me, and will cause them to be discharged there, and thou shalt receive them, and thou shalt accomplish my desire, and this is what I want to return, is in giving food for my household. So these great flotillas of hewed lumber would be sent down in the Mediterranean Sea and brought down. And guaranteed, just like today, you can go along the Northwest, you can go down to Mississippi, you can go down Atchafalaya, you can go down different rivers, the Mobile, the Dog, and you can find these rafts that have sunk But the wood now has been so seasoned that it's extremely valuable. And so people are mining this lumber for use now because there's nothing like it. It's just like pre-explosion of the nuclear bombs. The steel before the nuclear bombs exploded is a lot better than the steel today, and that's because of what's in the air, the atmosphere, the radiation. Kind of strange, isn't it? But we can't make steel as strong as we used to. That's why they're ripping up all the wrecks and World War II stuff, actually vandalizing and stealing it to convert it into steel. So Hiram is excited, and he has a plan. He says, tell you what, I will make these floats. I will send these floats down the Mediterranean and to be discharged at a certain whatever spot you want, and thou shalt receive them, and thou shalt accomplish my desire in giving food for my household. So Hiram gave Solomon cedar trees and fir trees according to all of his desire. How much was that? We have no earthly idea. We know the dimensions of the temple. He also built the house to his wife, the Pharaoh's daughter, out of the same cedars and things. So he did a lot. He even built himself a throne room out of cedar, so that he could be outside on a porch, kind of, be breezy. So Hiram sent Solomon cedar trees and fir trees according to all his desire. Verse 11, and Solomon gave Hiram 20,000 measures of wheat for food to his household. I mean, this is like tons of wheat. And gave 20 measures of pure oil. Thus gave Solomon to Hiram year by year. Every year he fed his household with wheat and with oil, pure oil. And the Lord gave Solomon wisdom, as he promised him. And there was peace between Hiram and Solomon, and they two made a league together. And King Solomon raised a levy out of all of Israel, and the levy was 30,000 men. He gathered these men together to help to do the work that was involved in making this temple. So he sent them to Lebanon, 10,000 a month by courses. A month they were in Lebanon, 2 months at home. So shifting out. And Adoniram was over the levy. We gathered them together. And Solomon had 70,000, 70,000 that bear burdens, and 80,000, right? Hewers in the mountain, beside the chief of Solomon's officers, which are over the work, the lunas. So 70,000 burden bearers, 80,000 lumberjacks, 3,300 overseers, which ruled over the people that wrought in the work. And the king commanded, and they brought great stones, costly stones, and hewed the stones to lay the foundation of the house. And one of the prerequisites was that the sound of the hammer or the saw would not be heard where the temple was being put together. So it's almost like Legos, they had to bring them in and assemble them together. The foundation, everything, they were already pre-cut, pre-ready to go. This took a lot of engineering, a lot of wisdom, a lot of math. And for these guys to figure all this out and to be able to assemble it together and put it together. And the king commanded, they brought great stones, costly stone, hewed stones to lay the foundation of the house. And Solomon's builders and Hiram's builders did hew them, and the stone squarers, so they prepared timber and stones to build the house. And it came to pass in the 480th year after the children of Israel were come up out of the land of Egypt. So 400 years they were where? In Egypt, and 480 years now they're in the promised land. And in the 4th year of Solomon's reign over Israel, the month of Ziph, which is the 2nd month, that he began to build the house of the Lord. It takes him 7 years. The measurements are 60 cubits by 20 cubits by 30 cubits. So a rectangle. Then it has a porch on the outside. So the house which King Solomon built for the Lord, the length thereof was 80 cubits, the breadth was there 20 cubits, and the height therefore 30 cubits. And the porch before the temple of the house was 20 cubits, and the length thereof, according to the breadth of the house, 10 cubits was the breadth thereof before the house. And for the house he made windows of narrow lights. And against the wall of the house he built chambers round about, against the walls of the house round about, both of the temple and of the oracle. And he made chambers round about. The nethermost chamber was 5 cubits broad, and the middle was 6 cubits broad, and the third was 7 cubits broad. For without, in the wall of the house, he made narrowed rests around about that beams should not be fastened in the walls of the house. Interesting. And the house, when it was in building, was built of stone made ready before it was brought thither, so that there was neither hammer nor axe nor any tool of iron heard in the house while it was in building. The door for the middle chamber was in the right side of the house, and they went up with the winding stairs into the middle chamber, and out of the middle into the third. And so he built the house and finished it, covered the house with beams and boards of cedar. So a stone building, then planked with cedar all throughout. The smell must have been tremendously good, And then he goes way beyond that. And he built the chamber against all the house 5 cubits high, and they rested on the house with timbers of cedar. So the roof all had timbers of cedars across the roof area. And the word of the Lord came to Solomon, saying, concerning this house which thou art in building, if thou wilt walk in my statutes and execute my judgments and keep all of my commandments to walk in them, I will perform my word with thee, which I spake unto David thy father. And I will dwell among the children of Israel, and will not forsake my people Israel. So Solomon built the house and finished it. And he built the walls of the house within with boards of cedar, both of the floor of the house, the walls of the ceiling. He covered them on the inside with wood. And he covered the floor of the house with planks of fir. It would hold up better than the cedar. And he built 20 cubits on the sides of the house, both the floor and the walls with the boards of cedar, even built them for within, even for the oracle and even for the most holy place, all boarded in. And the house, that is, the temple before it, was 40 cubits long. And the cedar of the house was carved with knops and open flowers. And all was cedar. There was no stone seen. You couldn't even tell that it was made of stone. And the oracle he prepared in the house to set there, the ark of the covenant of the Lord. And the oracle in the forepart was 20 cubits in length and 20 cubits in breadth, and 20 cubits in height thereof. And he overlaid it with pure gold, 24 karat gold. Overlaid it, thick. And so covered he also the altar, which was of cedar. So Solomon overlaid the house within with pure gold, and made a partition by the chains of gold before the oracle, and he overlaid it with gold. And the whole house he overlaid with gold, until he had finished all the house, also the whole altar, which was by the oracle, he overlaid with gold. No wonder when people came up and walked over the mountain, as they came up and looked into Jerusalem, they were like, oh my word. The temple shone with gold. It was absolutely fabulous of gold, inside and out. The smell of it, all of it. And then, of course, the special incense and the presence of the Lord. What a sight to behold. Amazing. In verse 23, and within the oracle he made 2 cherubim of olive tree, each 10 cubits high. And 5 cubits was the one wing of the cherub, and 5 cubits the other wing of the cherub. From the uttermost part of the one wing unto the uttermost part of the other were 10 cubits. And the other cherub was 10 cubits, and both the cherubims were one measure and one size. The height of one cherubim was 10 cubits, so it was with the other cherub. It must have been very important to keep saying over and over again that. So this is an addition other than what was on top of the ark of the Lord, which had the 2 cherubim. So these 2 were built, and you could see them also inside the temple, if you're allowed. And he set the cherubims within the inner house, and they stretched forth the wings of the cherubim, so that the wing of the one touched the one wall, and the wing of the other cherub touched the other wall, and their wings touched one another in the midst of the house. And he overlaid the cherubims with gold, and he carved all the walls of the house around about with carved figures of cherubim, palm trees, open flowers within and without. And the floor of the house he overlaid with gold within and without. Everything. Gold, gold, gold. And for the entering of the oracle he made doors of olive tree. The lintel and the side posts were the fifth part of the wall. Pretty big doors. And the two doors were also of the olive tree. He carved upon them carvings of the cherubims and the palm trees and open flowers, and overlaid them with gold, and spread gold upon the cherubims and upon the palm trees. So also he made for the door of the temple posts of olive tree. There was a fourth part of the wall. And the two doors were of fir tree, and the two leaves of the one door were folding, and the two leaves of the other door were folding. And he carved thereon cherubims and palm trees and open flowers, and covered them with gold, fitted upon the carved work. And he built the inner court with 3 rows of hewed stone and a row of cedar beams. In the 4th year, the foundation of the house of the Lord was laid in the month of Ziph, and in the 11th year, in the month Bul, which is the 8th month, was the house finished, throughout all the parts thereof, and according to all the fashion of it. So he was 7 years in building it. What a fabulous, fabulous thing. So finally, the culmination of what David had foreseen in his heart, and conceived in his heart, and then Solomon was able to complete it, and together they made something spectacular, amazing, a true place for the name of the Lord to reside. Sad today, the only thing you can find is every once in a while you find a pomegranate, or you find a cop or something, but there's not much else left of the original decorations. It all was destroyed. All the gold was peeled away and melted and picked out of the stones, and then the stones were picked up. Very, very sad. Hammer it in. So they lay sheets of the pure gold, and they hammer it down, and it would just stick. Maybe they had to heat it a little bit. Maybe there's some technology we don't know about even, but pretty amazing. But they were well crafted at putting gold, overlaying gold on stuff, because they did that with the ark, and they did that with some other things, But so we know that they could overlay stuff with gold. But to the extent that Solomon did it, nobody has ever done anything like that before. They was.